Hello guys, and welcome to episode 33. We hope 2020 has been great for you so far. Let us know, what did you get up to in the new year? Have you made any resolutions or hacks like Peachy said in the last one? Let us know what you've been up to. What have you been up to? It's been great?
Not much, because I've been sick. I'm still a little sick. Actually, Eddie has been sick too.
Yeah,
so
me too.
I'm not going to let that give me any indication of what this year is going to be like, because no. But so it kind of crippled my Xmas plans, but we move. We move,
exactly. And with that, moving straight into in the news.
Okay, so my in the news this week is probably quite timely because I want to talk about the year of return, and specifically year of return by the numbers. So I think now that we're basically in mid-January, by the time this comes out, we've all pretty much concluded that the year of return was a raving success.
Yeah.
It gave Ghana a serious image boost, and it also kind of signaled Ghana as like the new hub of Afropolitan cool, as they say, a nexus of art, culture, modernity, technology, like the face of modern Africa. I think definitely did that, and attracted a lot of celebrity attention. We had quite a few music festivals and events in general. So I think from that perspective, it was great. Now, the interesting thing here is I didn't even realize that year of return was like a specific, obviously it must have been, but the actual onus, if is that the right term? I've used it. The impetus, if you will, of year of return was actually to commemorate the 400th anniversary of the first enslaved Ghanaians being taken away from our shores. And it was well into I only learned about that this year, at the end of the year in December. So I'm not sure, from that perspective, I don't know if we really focus hard on that aspect of it. I know, they offered land and visas to, some diaspora returnees and things like that. But it seemed to be more just a huge month-long party, as opposed to really putting an emphasis on, the sort of historical background for why they did it this year and what it meant. But that's fine. Now getting to the numbers bit, right? The Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, speaking about the success of Year of Return, said that Year of Return activities generated $1.9 billion for the economy. Now, this number has been bandied about quite a bit. You may have heard it. Now, in the minute I heard it, two things came to mind. One, what are they going to do with that money? And two, how did they arrive at $1.9 billion? Because again, ain't that much partying in the world, right? To generate that much income. So I was like, because I feel these days, people just throw around billion as if $1 billion is a very, very large sum of money. It's hard for people to even wrap their minds around. And they're saying it was 1.2 billion. So I was like, okay, where'd you get this number from? So
I was listening to the radio, and the guy was on there, and they were asking him how he came about the money, and he said, the number of people who were here, and I think each person spending about $2,500 something.
So I'm gonna get
how they.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at the time of this is what I heard. The Minister of Tourism's speech said that already 750,000 people had arrived in Ghana, and this was by July. But they were expecting that by end of year that number would be about 1 million, right? So that's 1 million people, give or take. And again, as Eddie was saying, the Ministry of Finance estimates that the average spending per tourist not estimate. In 2018, it was 1,800. So they assume that, in 2019, it's going to be about 2,000. So if you multiply, or just under 2,000, maybe 1,900, whatever. So if you multiply 1 million people by 1,900, that's where you get your 1.9 billion. Now, the curious thing here is, obviously, they're assuming that every single person that arrived in the country this year who came because of Year of Return, which is kind of a weird assumption to make, because there's so much other things happening. People come to Ghana for business, whatever.
People come for Christmas all the time.
So, and the other interesting thing to note is that in 2018, total arrivals to the country was already 984,000. Okay. So people be coming to Ghana already in their large numbers. And actually the net difference between last year and this year, depending on how the numbers play out, is only about 15 to 20,000 people. Oh. Of course, that doesn't sound as sexy, so they said 1.9 billion, but really the true number may be closer to 30 to 40 million dollars, which I must say is nothing to sniff at regardless. You know what I mean? That's still, I feel like, a success. To generate 40 million more extra dollars or 30 million, however it plays out. So that's one thing. How did they arrive at that number? It may or may, it's a bit sketch depending on how you look at it. You have to be very, very optimistic in terms of who is coming and why to get 1.9 billion, but no problem. But the second thing, again, is where is the money going, right? So obviously the Foreign Service got a huge boost of money from visas. Well, huge, maybe, but a boost of money regardless. And, I'm thinking that this was like a tourism initiative. However, I mean, I'm sure some of you who are already here and went and whatever will find that some of our tourist locations, even the access to those places is stressful, raggedy, and bootleg. The road, there's no road, especially the beach ones. But you turn off the main road, and that last stretch of road to get to that place requires a 4x4 or something. So, if we are truly committed to tourism initiatives and to boosting an economy and using this money, I would hope to see that some of this money is actually spent towards, making those places more accessible to get to. Maybe having our tourist guys better trained, better staffed, things like that. It would be nice to just get, some benefit. Not that people are all going on vacation. Yay, let's split up this money and all go to South Africa and Dubai or wherever they be going.
It's proper preparation.
I know, exactly. So that's really what I wanted to discuss this week. Year of Return by the numbers, whether it's success, and I think it is. And if we are saying it's a success, what does that mean down the line? What are we doing going forward? Are we going to keep this momentum going? And facilitate these things? Because really, the extra police, like I didn't see the preparation on the ground for all these people they were expecting. I would have expected to see more police officers, monitoring the traffic better. I don't know, people who came through the airport, I don't know if they had extra staff at the, I doubt. And so we need to, if we want to really do this and do it well, we need to actually do proper planning and preparation. We just leave people to get where they're going, how they get there, and do whatever they do, and then we claim the success. Meanwhile, we didn't do. It's individuals who put things together. All those events and parties or whatever. Was government involved? No. They just put their Year of Return stamp on it and came out with a schedule. Which of those events were government? None. Most of the ones. It wasn't Afro Nation. It wasn't Afro. Which did they? If they listen, maybe if they contributed to the planning and preparation of any of these events, I stand corrected. Let me know. I doubt. But I think it's enough of them trying to claim private sector people's successes as their own or whatever. So. Although well done for pushing us out.
The initiative is great.
It was a great initiative. It was I'll give them this. They promoted and advertised splendidly.
Beautiful.
Splendidly. They engaged with the influencers and stakeholders and whatever it is. Basically, Boris Kujo Bozoma and her people, they did the legwork, but at least the Ministry of Tourism engaged them. I saw they were all invited to the president's office for some or whatever, for a mixer or whatever it is. So well done.
Yeah,
there.
that's good. Well done. Yeah.
What is the next step? Where are we going now? How are we going to maintain this and push it forward and make it even bigger possibly? But if you're going to do bigger, we need more feet on the ground controlling so it doesn't turn into like anarchy. Okay, so that's, I think I've talked too much. Okay, but anyway.
No, that's great. But apparently there's also after this year of return, there's a beyond the return thing. Yeah.
Sorry.
So yeah, there's a beyond return, something about investing. I mean, after all this has happened, we've had fun. It's more than just partying.
Okay,
So there is something in plan apparently. But we'll see how that plays out. You just never know, isn't it? So that's that. Okay, so in the news, in Australia, temperatures went like to record highs, like 81 degrees Celsius. And an Australian man took advantage of that and cooked some pork in his car. He put the pork in the seat of his red Datsun for about 10 hours. And at the end of it, it got cooked. And the thing is, it's a funny story, but we need to talk about climate change. People. It's not just all fun. Whether it's getting warmer, we're happy, people are not happy. It's not about that. Now, the 10 hottest global years on record have been, and in that order, 1998, 2009, 2013, 2005, 2010, 2014, 2018, 2017, 2015, and 2016, with 2016 being the hottest. Now, there seems to be a consistent increase in warmer climates. But then, climate, people who don't believe in climate change will tell you that it's a hoax. I don't think it's a hoax. It's a serious matter.
If I can interrupt. First of all, they had to stop saying global warming because the dum-dums were like, but it gets super cold in the winter.
Yeah, that's not what it is.
Yes, it's about the extremes. And the increasing heat actually does make the weather more extreme. So if it's cold, it actually gets colder. So now they've had to say climate change and not global warming so that you people will be more not you people, you guys are with it, but those other people will be more convinced and still. But anyway, so oceans were also significantly warmer in 2018, and you know what this means? That means tropical cyclones, coral bleaching, sea levels rise. It's an issue. Now, in South Sudan, parts of the country were hit by severe droughts in 2019. And by middle of 2019, the country has also been hit by floods. Now, already this country has been ravaged by conflict, and and increasing climate change is just going to make all these things worse. It's projected that 5.5 million South Sudanese will go hungry early this year. This is terrible. It's a terrible, terrible thing. And it's heartbreaking, it's the fact that people will still be out there thinking, no, this is just what happens. It's just normal. Just go with the times. It's not normal. Now, in Greenland is losing ice 7 times faster than in the 1990s. You know what this means? This means coastal flooding, climate change. And it said that for every centimeter rise in global sea levels, 6 million people are exposed to coastal flooding. That's village, 1 centimeter. And this is the thing. It's like the margins don't have to be extreme
just a little
to mess
change.
Up it's the ecosystem. We have a global ecosystem, and it's so much more sensitive than people give it credit for. So this temperature rise, because it's like 1 degree or 2 degrees, people are like,
it's nothing. Nothing happened.
But it literally won't take much to destroy everything.
Yeah, so I was just saying that my village, the village where my father is from, it's completely under the sea. It's gone. Like, this is about 10 years now.
No way.
Yeah, it does not exist. So they had to relocate all the people in that village to another one.
Wow, you see. So
it's
we're
a
ready,
serious thing.
and that's a decade ago, and we're not, of course, these things, every country has to be involved, but I'm not really sure I see Ghana being super.
I don't think people in Ghana are talking about climate change too much. I know there are people who every now and then get it and talk about it, but as a collective, I don't think we're doing enough.
No, we aren't.
Yeah,
none of us are.
So yes, when I was a kid, I remember going to my dad's village. It was still there, it still existed, and then after a while, everything was just gone.
Wow, that is crazy.
Under the sea. Like,
I know they had the sea defense project thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much of a
know.
success it's been, or whether it's kind of like putting a band-aid on a leak in a ship or what.
It's a serious issue. And there are more places also that risk coastal flooding. There's recently there's been news in Hawaii, the UK, Connecticut. There's a lot of things happening that show that climate change is an issue, right? And it's hard for a lot of us to talk about it because it's uncomfortable. It means we'll have to change our lifestyles. And not many people are willing to do that. If they say, you need to take out the plugs when you're not using it. You need to use less hot water. You need to make sure your tires are pumped before you drive. You need to do so and so and so and so. People are not ready to do that because they're so used to a certain lifestyle.
Exactly.
But if you want things to change, you're going to have to do that. And it's easy to say, oh, well, I won't be alive anymore, so it doesn't really affect me. But what kind of selfish thinking is that? It's a pity. So I think we should talk about climate change a bit more. Just a little topic on climate change. It's an issue. I've cited some examples. Please look into it. There's a lot that needs to be done.
Of course, since we're still in the early days of the year, it'll be a good thing to try and implement some of these things going forward. So that starting 2020, you're at least changing one thing about the way you do things to be more conscious of how you're doing and how you're consuming and so forth.
So. Let's be a bit more conscious. It's a new year started, like she said. Let's pick that one thing that can make a change. That's all I have to say in the news. All
right, so we're going to songs of the week, and I have 3 songs, and of these 3 songs, I can say that 2 of them, the last couple of times I've gone to Accra, I literally played those songs on repeat. I didn't even realize the play. I was like, I want to hear that again. And I listened to it the whole way to Accra. So 45 minutes straight.
Oh, wow.
So that just shows you how much I love these songs. So the first one is by Mark Ronson, and it's called Don't You Leave Me Lonely. Now, you may not recognize the name immediately, but you are definitely familiar with Mark Ronson's work. He's one of the most prolific and successful producers among his peers. So the current era, he's in his early 40s. So he's been in the game. Most famously, or where he got his biggest boost from, was his work with Amy Winehouse.
Valerie, right?
Yes, Valerie, and he produced half of Back to Black as well.
Okay.
So and he actually won, I think he won a Grammy for that, if I'm not mistaken. And he's also known for producing Uptown Funk for Bruno Mars.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And most recently, he won a Grammy for his work with Lady Gaga on the soundtrack for A Star Is Born.
Right, I haven't seen that.
So he's got a total of 8 Grammy noms, and he's worked with everybody you can think of, and he's great. I love Mark Ronson, absolutely. I have every album of his and every collab. Love him. And so he released his latest project called Late Night Feelings in 2019. I was going to say this year, the new year now. And Don't You Leave Me Lonely is one of the singles off that track, and it features astounding, when I say an astounding vocal performance by a feature artist called Yeba, whose real name is Abby Smith, and it's just, I love it. As I said, I can listen to that song 45 minutes straight. So that's my first song, Mark Ronson, Don't You Leave Me Lonely. And the second one is called Guilt, and it's by a Ghanaian artist called Young Pabi, who is a good friend of mine. I really love his work, and so his real name is Prince Adobaini, and he's a hip-hop/hip life artist. And he's been in the game making music for release since about 2013, when he got done with high school. He went to Thomas Aquinas, so I think he's, what do they call him? Old Tom. Yes, he's an old Tom. Hey, don't beat you.
Oh, I'm sorry, please.
So shout outs to Old Toms out there. And he is he raps. Some people just rap, and he raps. He's a wonderful, such a evocative storyteller with his words, and there's always some sort of really deeper meaning to them, and conscious, I don't know, you just have to check out his stuff to know what I'm talking about. He's had some really good songs called like Working, Bushman, Who You Know. And if you've ever been to one of his live shows, you know he incorporates a lot of theatrics to his performances.
Right.
And it just makes it just an experience. So he released his EP late last year called Running with Men on Horses. And this is one of the songs off of there called Guilt. And do check it out because it's really good. Okay, so that's my second song, Guilt by Young Pabi. And my last song, which again is one of the songs I listened to for 45 minutes straight, is by an artist called Sir, and it's called Hair Down.
Okay.
Now, Sir's real name, that is actually his real name. His name is Sir Darrell Farris, and he's, I know, right? He's a singer-songwriter from Inglewood, California, and he's signed to TDE. Now, if you're in the know, you know TDE is the label that has Kendrick Lamar on there. SZA is on there, Schoolboy Q, J-Rock, their roster is stacked. So he's on TDE, so that should give you an idea that he's dope. And excuse me, he comes from a musical family as well. His mother was a backup singer for both Michael Jackson and Aretha Franklin. And he released his second album called Chasing Summer in August of 2019. And this song, Hair Down, I believe is the first single off of that album. And once again, it's fantastic. It's got such a laid-back, chill vibe. And you know West Coast has a certain energy to their music. And definitely check it out. So my 3 songs are Don't You Leave Me Lonely by Mark Ronson, featuring Yaba, Guilt by Young Pabi, and Hair Down by Sir.
Thank you. So I have 2 songs for you today. The first one is from an artist called Seinabo, and the song is Breathe. Now, Seinabo is a 29-year-old musician. She's of Swedish and Gambian descent. Her father is Mando Say, and is apparently a renowned musician in Gambia. I've never heard of him before. Her first album was released in 2015, and the second in 2018, called I've forgotten the title. I just have Dream here. Something Dream. I'm sorry. I'm a Dream, I think. So she was born in Gambia but raised in Sweden, and she's obviously had a lot of influence from her father. But then she also said in an interview that she has a feeling of being scattered because she's partly Swedish and partly Gambian, and her dad has told her to choose the best of both worlds. Just embrace the best of both worlds and then do what you have to do. Great advice. Yeah. She's got a beautiful voice. The song Breathe is also very beautiful. It's got lots of string. You hear the strings in the song, and I really like that in the song. So that's brilliant. I love it. That's Seinabo and Breathe. Now the second song is a really old one, or quite old. It's from Richie Spice featuring Gentleman. I love me some reggae. No, I know. So yeah. So the song is Let's Go. I'm sure you know it. Do I? Let's go. Are you ready now? No. I'm sure you know it. So Richie Spice, called Rachel Bonner, is a Jamaican artist who's had a lot of popular songs. Eartha Run Red, Gideon Boot. What I didn't know was that his brother is Pliers of Shakadim. You're joking. I did not know this until I did my research. Wow, good for them. And his other brother is also Spanner Banner, and he's also an reggae artist. Yeah. What I like about Richie Spice is that his music is quite uplifting. He talks about a lot of conscious and sensible things. So that's good. Not every day, listening to, all sorts of things. Sometimes listen to some conscious music. And he features Gentleman. And Gentleman is a German reggae artist. I love Gentleman. He's too. Yeah, he's brilliant, isn't he? He's the son of a pastor. His real name, Tillman Otto. And he came up with an album, Confidence, in 2014. I don't have it here, but he came up with the album Confidence. It was really good. Another album that is top. I love it. And he also did a song with Freundeskreis, Tabula Rasa. I don't know whether you know Tabula Rasa. No, I know they filmed it in Ghana. It's a nice catchy song. I like it. You should check that out as well. And so that's that. 2 songs from me, Seinabo with Breathe and Richie Spice featuring Gentleman. Let's go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like it's quite interesting that generally reggae community or whatever, they're quite embracing of people. Now I don't know I'm not gonna. Ooh,
Don't.
I'm not gonna do it. Not today. Not today.
Please,
Okay, fine. All I'm gonna say is, I wonder how we as Ghanaians would react to just any old body doing
a high life
or a zonto or something like that, and I bet we'd be like, But you know, Jamaicans generally, because gentleman is like white, right?
Yeah,
and
Haitian, yeah.
I mean, he's doing the damn thing. The music is great, and nobody has been like, why are we listening to this white boy, or why all these? Okay, why all these Ghanaians? Not today. Okay,
Not today.
I'm just saying. Shout outs to Jamaicans for embracing the fact that people take their culture and make stuff with it. And I guess if it's good, they'll embrace you. They've embraced Rocky Down. A lot of people actually, and so I think that's dope. And I don't think if the tables were turned, we'd be as welcome. But I'm just saying. Moving on before I start my things. Okay. So. On to What the F, and my What the F this week is really frustrating, it's tragic, it's infuriating, it's ridiculous, it's nonsense, let me just tell you what it is. So, a pastor, and I'm still trying to find out what church and who this person is, but a pastor instructed a man not to allow his wife to get a cesarean section, even though the man explained that at the last doctor's appointment, the last ultrasound they had, the doctor said because of the position of the baby and the size of the baby that a cesarean section is indicated. But the pastor said, no, have faith, and it's not God's will for her to have a cesarean section. So they didn't, and both mom and baby died during childbirth. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is that it's not an isolated case in the least. It's actually a thing I've seen 4, 5, 6 times where people have said that getting a cesarean section is ungodly. I'm like, when did we decide this?
It's not normal.
It's not. Yes. So don't do it. And I'm just like, I recall. So I've seen a couple of reasons why. One of them is it Exodus? I'm trying to. Yes, Exodus 1:19, and the context is that these are people, the Hebrews in bondage in Egypt, and they're trying to control the population numbers or something. So this Egyptian was saying that they should kill all the male children, something like that, and asked the midwives how come all these kids are still being born or whatever. So that verse says that Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women, and they're vigorous, and they tend to have their babies before the midwives even get there. So somehow, some semi-literate pastor has decided this means that those favored by God, i.e. Hebrew women, should not and do not need any assistance in childbirth because they're vigorous in the Lord. What? Amen. Or some rubbish like that. Rubbish. I will say that again. Rubbish. So now it's like... if you say you need or want a C-section, they're like, hey, the Lord has provided for you, blah, 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 already. Man. I've seen there was another explanation given there, like 3 or 4 reasons, and one was something to do with knives or something, and I can't find that one. But the other one, somebody was saying that her mother-in-law had told her she's not a real woman because she had C-sections.
Just imagine.
And the reason given is that in the Bible, it says that childbirth is supposed to be painful. So if your childbirth wasn't painful, that means you didn't really have, it's not real. And I'm like, first of all, who told you cesarean sections aren't painful? Yeah. Like that aftermath, the healing is actually much worse than having a vaginal birth, for one thing. And secondly, again, nonsense. So just generally, I'm at the point where I'm sick of pastors inserting themselves into medical situations.
Yeah, when you have absolutely
you have no knowledge.
Where's your doctor?
Where'd you get your medical degree? Did you go to medical school? No. So you are dealing with matters of the spirit and the soul, and allow doctors to deal with the matters of the flesh and of health. Simple. These are 2 very distinct arenas. And I recall one of the things that upset me the most till date. I went to church with my cousin invited me to church with one of these specials, and we're sitting there, and basically they were doing that thing where they go around and they're like, have you had something. And one lady's story, it turned this woman, she probably had something like leukemia or whatever. She was getting blood transfusions. And this goofy ass pastor, and you better not come for me in the comments, actually told this woman no, she should stop getting the blood transfusions because they're demonic or satanic or something like that. And she was like, okay. And he's like, yes, that's the reason you're not getting better or something like that. I'm like, what an irresponsible thing to say.
You should be charged with murder. People like
These
that
people, this pastor and the husband, because they're all like, oh, we feel so sad for the husband. I'm like, why?
Look.
Why? He's the one that did it.
Why are they feeling sad
Both,
for him?
we need to make an example out of people. You can't just say everything. Do you remember, this is completely unrelated, but I remember last year, 2 years ago, some pastor said there was going to be a bomb at the mall. You literally, it's illegal to go around making statements that have real world consequences and you just sit there. He should have been charged with disturbing the public peace or causing a threat or false threat. These two should be charged with manslaughter. Between the two of them, they killed 2 people.
Yes.
And nobody should say that it wasn't Baba. They actually went against the doctor's explicit instruction, because a doctor cannot force a C-section on you.
Yeah.
And if the woman is incapacitated, the next of kin or whatever is her husband. So it would fall on him to make the decision. And he said no, because pastor said no, and now 2 people are dead. And who's going to do something about it?
But why did, not to put the blame on the woman, but why didn't she say, no, I'm going to go through and do this? Right?
Because it's, at the end of the day, it's her life.
Yeah, it's her life, so she should say, no, you know what, you said.
But you know, they say, my husband, he's the head and I'm the neck. So the head said, so.
No,
it's so not funny.
It's not.
Listen,
it's upset.
If the person you're speaking to has no medical qualifications, do not defer to them.
Absolutely
Certainly not over your actual doctor who is trying to tell you something. And now that is dead, what does that mean? Does that mean he's a false prophet? What does it mean? Who is going to do what?
No, you made a mistake. They're just human beings, so they're perfect.
It was her time, or what? What the Lord? What are you going to say? I mean, we need to stop this clownery. It's
too much. It's too much. I'm sure if you make a count of people who have died because they've listened to what.
Listen,
I'm gonna try to do that and see what I get, because this is ridiculous.
Listen, like I said, the Bible can be used to justify everything from racism to slavery to whatever you want.
Yeah.
So everyone's interpretation of it is different. So you can't just automatically say, okay, because this guy said so. That line has nothing to do with cesarean sections. But if you twist it and you mean it bad enough, I guess you can say that that's what the Lord said. Who are you to define what the Lord is trying to say anyway? Anyway, that's because if I continue talking, I won't stop. So I'm just saying, let us please don't allow people with no medical knowledge to tell us what to do in situations that require medical attention. And that's all I have to say.
Simple. Okay, so my what the F is on a new phone competitor in town.
Oh.
Now, Roberto Escobar, yes, that Escobar,
that one?
The brother of the infamous Pablo Escobar, has recently launched a new phone, a gold folding phone. So the Escobar Fold One, that's what it's called.
Yeah. Put his name there too.
Listen, has a case made out of stainless steel. It has a gold finish, dual camera, fingerprint sensor, all the comininis. Now, the Escobar Fold One operates on Android and costs about $349. And there's a version with more RAM for $499.
Which is quite affordable for a gold folding phone.
So for the campaign, he had the Escobar Inc. had a very raunchy campaign. They had Miss Prussia in there, people in explicit stills and lingerie. And at the same time, they also had a campaign where there's a priest blessing the phone. Roberto Escobar standing there with a picture of his dead brother also standing. That's another campaign. Now, he is of course counting on his name to sell the phones, but I'm just thinking, who in their right minds wants to go and get a phone that's got Escobar on it?
Anyway, there are a lot of people that glorify these gangster lives and things like that, so I'm sure they're like, you got the Escobar One.
Now it gets a little bizarre, because you were just saying that it's affordable. Now, Roberto Escobar says Apple scams its customers, and so he's threatening to sue Apple.
Hey.
And he's filing a class action suit for $30 billion. For selling overpriced phones to customers. And in a way, I kind of agree.
Apple does scam its customers. You know, I'm very anti-Apple.
I like Apple stuff, but they overprice their things. There's nothing.
What
so
you're buying
special.
is a brand name and they're like clout. You're buying clout, and there's nothing clout worthy about Apple products.
So that's bizarre. One, he's threatening to sue Apple. He's also threatening to sue Elon Musk with a $100 million lawsuit because Elon Musk apparently stole his plans for a flamethrower. That he said Elon Musk stole the idea when the Escobar brothers would burn cash to keep warm. And Elon Musk saw that.
Poor example to use. I'm sure I could have found something else that they said they were flamethrowing. At least it's not people that have betrayed them.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's what they really use the flamethrowers for, setting people's families on fire. But you didn't hear from me.
Yeah, so that's my whatever.
That's pure insanity.
I know Escobar with the phone and then suing Apple and then suing Elon Musk. It's just a bit much. So that's you. If you're looking for a new phone,
and you got look, maybe the fraud boys will be into it. You know, I'm sure it sounds very gaudy, so I'm sure that it's like
I saw a picture of it. Was just like, no, thank you. I think I'm good. So that's the Escobar phone.
Even the name says
the Escobar Fold One. Can you?
You can. All right. So moving on to the last segment. What the F? No, I mean my two Pesewas. Yeah. And my two Pesewas this week, obviously if you listening, you already seen the title. It's called High Kings and Queens. Hey. Now that is obviously a bit of a tongue-in-cheek reference to Hamamat, who is a model. I think she was in Miss Something, and she has like a Instagram channel, and everything she starts with saying hi kings and queens, and it just cracks me up every single time. Right. So I borrowed her phrase, hi Hamamat. But what I actually want to talk about is our tendency to anoint any Tom, Dick, Harry, and Clara or whatever. No, I have a friend called Clara, not Clara. Tom, Dick, Harry, or Jane. There you go. With chieftaincy or queenship or something like that, right? Now, the reason it got me thinking about this, because again, obviously, Year of Return. So when they announced, I was like, how will these people be able to go and come without at least 50 of them being made a chief here or a chief? And I was just like, here we go, the next wave of chiefs and queen mothers, right? Now, obviously, the most recent sort of time we talked about this issue is when Lisa Ray McCoy infamously declared that she had been made the queen mother of Ghana, and everyone was like, who told you that?
They lied to you.
And she said it like 3 or 4 different places, and anytime I watch like the clip, you can see she's just like, yes, I'm the queen of Ghana now, and they're like, wow, and then we're just like, madam, either you've been listen anyway. Now, in actual fact, they made her the queen mother of one of the Agona something or other. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't make it any better, because no shade to Miss McCoy, but she's most known for looking amazing for her age, wearing white all the time, and having played a stripper in Players Club. That's really that's why that's really it. So I'm like, okay, which of these things qualify her to be made queen mother in Agona? But they said that she was made queen mother for her humanitarian efforts, and of course I'm like, which humanitarian effort? Again, I don't want, look, if she's renowned for, and she had put in some work doing projects, I feel like would have heard about it. But listen, I stand to be corrected. Maybe she was going hard in Agona, and I didn't know, we didn't know.
I haven't heard anything, to be honest.
Strongly doubt, though. But yeah. And of course, she's not the only celebrity who has been made a queen, mother, or chief in a traditional area. So you have Michael J. White, who was made a chief in Akwemu. Rita Marley is in Kosohima, in Konkuri, in Ebri somewhere. In the 90s, apparently, Isaac Hayes, I guess I'd forgotten that, he was made a chief in Adan somewhere. His name is Nene Kate Okanse.
Yes.
And of course, Michael Jackson was made a king somewhere. You know, there's some picture of him wearing kente, and that was in Cote d'Ivoire, but one of the Akan areas. So people be low key trying to claim he was made a chief in Ghana. No, but the Cote d'Ivoire, stop it. And then one of the ones that irritated me, like truly, there is a British gentleman called Roland Jimmy Moxon, and apparently he was the administrator for some town during the colonial administration era. And when that came to end, the people apparently liked him so much that they made him a chief. So he's Cesarean, wherever that was. I didn't write that down. Oh, also in Ebri somewhere. So Ebri, you guys, really, like what? These were our colonial anyway. So yeah.
I just find it very, I don't know whether belittling is the word, but just that the fact that anybody and everybody's made it chief, I just
this is where
like
I'm going. So my thing is, is this something we hold in high esteem or not? You know, our royal bloodlines, like exclusive and whatever it is, and like to be held on a pet, whatever it is, or not. Because if that's the case, I mean, every time we do this, we're somewhat diluting the prestige and, you know, honor of being considered a royal, because we're just handing it out like candy. Now, obviously, typically, they make them Nkosohene or Nkosohima, which means progress or development. And really, it is a cash grab, right? They're hoping that, okay, if I make this person Nkosohene, then I'm like, hey, we need money for a school block, or we need money, whatever. Now, of course, again, we're filling the gap that government should be filling, right? Yeah. But I feel like it's a better way. Just say, make them a patron or something. Just say, okay, you know, adopt a city or whatever it is. But to make, and then they go through the whole ceremony. But then you, okay, not me, because I'm a princess. But a regular person will not be even allowed if they even allow you to see the chief at all, they'll tell you that you have to talk to a chami, and who are you, and you have to sit on the floor and all. And then you're going to turn around and make some regular old person from wherever a chief. I mean, like, but we're not even allowed to be in your presence or whatever.
I think they should stop it. I don't like it. I don't like it.
It is cringe-worthy at the very least, and it's kind of like, and mind you, it's not just foreigners. It's not because they're foreigners per se, right? Because again, apparently they made Shatawale a chief in the north. I'm like, y'all are just doing the most now. Like the most. So I understand, like, okay, we need the help or whatever it is. Again, there are less cringe-worthy ways of going about this. Ask somebody to be a patron of your town, adopt your city or whatever. Don't give them access to the whatever of chiefs or whatever it is. Have them the whole ceremony. No, they don't. They haven't earned it. They don't deserve it. It's like Ghana police. Ghana police always talking about they don't get respect. I was like, look, it's one or the other. Do you want to be respected, or do you want to stand on the road and beg for people's 10 CDs? You're not going to have it both ways. You know, and so the same thing with our chieftaincy thing. If you want us to respect you and the royal lineage and the just the prestige of being a chief, you can't be handing out titles like candy, like hacks, just giving them out. It can't be both, you know. And I feel like we should stop it. We should find a better way to stop. Yeah, and absolutely. No, listen, UK, you cannot buy a peerage there. You cannot. Nobody will call you and make you a baron or something. It does not exist. It's the king or the queen that creates a peerage and bestows it on somebody. And they're less than 100. I don't think it's even up to the House of Lords. I think it's 100 and something. And they haven't created a new one in centuries. Like, it does not happen. There is no way that any regular person off the street would just be made. It won't. and because they consider that it's like a big deal, and ours should be a big deal.
Yeah, it should be.
Like just because it's
handing it out.
These are, like we always say, our kings and queens. They're literally kings and queens. Maybe they have small domains, but still, that actually means something to me. So it's kind of upsetting when we just see it being diluted and treated like some joke that anyone can participate in, when that shouldn't be the case and isn't the case, and so on and so forth.
It's something to cherish, really, not to just throw at people.
I mean, I get, look, we need help, yes, sure, but just find a better way to do it. They don't have to be made a queen or a king just to come and help out. Like, for goodness sake, make a charity and ask them to be the pay something. Anyway, so that's me.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's something I've thought about as well, so it's good that you actually brought it up. Yeah. Okay, so my two questions today is on cognitive bias. Now, cognitive bias is a systematic, uncontrollable error in thinking, and it affects the way you make decisions on a day-to-day basis. Now, cognitive bias is mainly as a result of your brain trying to process so much information, but then your brain only has certain limitations, so it processes as much as it can, and it makes decisions based on what it has processed. Now, as much as we like to think we're making logical decisions, sometimes biases end up creeping in. So we like to think that we've made the decision based on the information that we have, but we're biased. And you may not even be aware that you're making these decisions, because everybody else around you is making this kind of same biased decision. So it becomes like the new normal, basically. And there's a super long list of the types of cognitive biases out there, but I'm just going to briefly touch on a few of them, and then you can go look up the rest. So one is the curse of knowledge. Now, this is a cognitive bias that occurs when someone is communicating something and they assume that you have prior knowledge to that, right? So they understand it, you don't, but they assume that you do. And so because you are conversant with that topic, you can't put yourself in the shoes of the person who doesn't know it or who doesn't understand it. And in the 90s, there was an experiment group grouped into tappers and listeners. So they asked one group to tap a happy birthday or a common song, and the other listeners to sort of recognize it. The tappers were so sure that the people would understand, but they didn't, right? That's, again, it's because you assume that the person, the tapper, you're hearing,
you're like, everybody knows happy birthday.
Exactly, and you're hearing it in your head, but the listener is just hearing the tapping, right? So that's that. And the second one I have is confirmation bias.
I hear about that one
a lot. Yeah,
confirmation bias.
Exactly. So the confirmation bias is the tendency to look for or focus on or remember information that sort of confirms your preconceptions. And this is quite dangerous because it's better to gain broader knowledge and then make your judgments based on that instead of just focusing on this thing. For example, for the people who say the earth is flat, they will go look out for anything that supports their theory that the earth is flat. Right?
And I think it's connected to a logical fallacy, something like called cherry picking, where you literally only recall things that support your position in your argument. So that's cherry picking as well. Another
example is a reporter who's writing on a story and has already in his mind a certain way the story should play out. So he's going to go out and look
people
for
that said what he's like, he told you, and ignore the other. Right.
That's it. So that's confirmation bias. And the third one is the sunk cost fallacy, also called the Concord fallacy. And this one is simple. Refusing to abandon something just because you've put so much
and I hear that comes a lot in relationships. I've been with him for 7 years. We have 2 kids, so where I can't leave, absolutely. So then you've put in so much effort that you can't see yourself leaving because you've put in so much emotionally, money wise, whatever. If it's a building project that's going awry or whatever,
that's it.
Even gambling, some cost fallacy because they're like, I need to put more, and I'll finally make my money back, and it leads to disaster most of the time.
A lot of us have clothes sitting in our closets, but because we put in money, you're like, no, I'm not going to give it. I'm going to wear. You're not going to wear it. Please give it out. It's 2020. There are people who need clothes.
That's
just
me.
do that.
But I only wear it once, and it's there years and years. And I said I don't have anything to wear. My closet is full. But I won't throw the things out.
I gave away a lot of my clothes before at the end of last year because it was too much. I'm not wearing these things.
And I'm like, no, but this top, I remember, and listen, it doesn't let it go.
And with the sunk cost fallacy, it's important to separate emotional investment from your decision making. Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in things that you have no business getting stuck in. So the fourth one and the last one I have for you is hindsight bias. So an event happens, and then for some reason you seem to think, oh yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, I saw this coming. We do that a lot. Oh yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I saw this happen. Because you base it sort of on an earlier prediction, a similar thing having happened. So you say, okay, this time, yeah, probably could happen. Yes, so I saw that happen, right? So that's it.
This is excellent. I love this.
Listen, there's so many of these. This is really,
and you
really
realize that oh my God, we do this so much.
So at the end of the day, you're thinking that, oh yeah, I've made this decision. But when you sit down to think of it, how many biases have crept in? You know, it's insane. So that's my bit on cognitive bias. Go check it out. There's a long list on Wikipedia. It's so interesting. So you go do that. And that's that for me.
Wonderful. Thank you.
All right then.
All right. So we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.